So now that you're dealing with it, and you're going to start your first ethical fashion week in September for Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia.
What is the umbrella, and how have you decided to define ethical for Pakistan, especially?
You see, ethical is not just going to be for Pakistan. Ethical for the West
Right.
is very different from ethical for Southeast Asia. You know, Southeast Asia is basically about social development. These are not welfare states. Europe is a complete welfare state because of the heavy taxation. A lot of stuff is, expenses are taken on by the government. So in the West, ethical actually means going green. Cycling,
Right.
it's more environmental.
Right.
So it's when you talk about environmental, you're not really involving communities. You're not talking about socio-economic development. You're not talking about female empowerment. You're not talking about craft revival. It is about getting away from the whole industrialized sector. It's about going and investing in, not in investing in technology and in industry. It's about investing in human resource.
Right.
It's about going to areas where there are strong craft centers. Whether you go to the southern Punjab, whether you go to the NWFP, you go and you look at clusters where they have the whole concept of Ustad Chagir.
Right.
You see how it works.
Don't you think industrialization is important for the progression of the society or the industry?
No, I'm not saying it's not important. It has to go hand in glove with
Right.
human development. Because
Right.
without human development, how long are you going to develop? I mean, people have to run machines. People have to design machines. People have to invent machines. So unless you go back to the human component, and the other thing which is very, very important when you talk about socio-economic development, it's also socio-political, because the people that you go and you give jobs to, they actually become your, the entire village that you work with. It's your vote bank. So a lot of governments that actually start to deal with these things are when you start to invest in your people and you start to invest in your own culture. Because at the end of the day, when you go to a village and you have a woman do a piece, it's based on the culture and the tradition that she's learned from her mother and who's learned from her mother.
Right.
So you're passing down tradition as well.
Right.
So it's not just about, because I think we paid a very heavy price for industrialization. It is all mass-produced. There's nothing precious. There's nothing handmade. There's nothing involving human resource. Look at the towels and sheeting that Pakistan has been
Right.
exporting.
Right.
Look at the $40 dozen T-shirts that we've been exporting for years.
Right.
When are we going to move beyond that? Yeah, I mean, look at the Pulkari shawl that we managed to save.
Right.
The Pulkari shawl is just one of the examples.
Okay.
Chicken curry over the past 10 years has come up with a huge revival.
Right.
There's been a huge revival of Gota work.
Right.
There's been a huge revival of Mukesh or Kamdani.
Right.
That's also coming to its
And there are
fore.
pockets of women working on this craft specifically, you're saying?
Well, you see what happens is when you look at the rural sector, the logistics of the rural sector are completely different. The logistics of the rural sector are all based on men going out to the fields because it's all agricultural based. And the women staying at home and looking after the children.
Right.
And to supplement their income, they get into the whole thing about craft.
Right.
Now the craft can be in different ways, but with women, it invariably, certain pockets ends up with embroidery.
Right.
Which can be Mukesh, which can be Ari work, which is, there's Gabba. I mean, there's a whole slew of stuff.
Okay.
When you actually look at, and you do the mapping of
Right.
how Pakistan from the 4 provinces operates, you'll find there are clusters that are doing different kinds of things, some of which are incredibly, incredibly beautiful. So the idea for the designer is to come in and to act as design intervention.
Right.
And then to take these women, give them fair wage, make them produce a garment that can actually be sold in an international market.
What kind of wages do these women get? I'm not talking about ethical wages, but generally, what kind of money do they make?
It depends on the product. I mean, it depends on the number of hours that go in. But suffice it to say that they get next to nothing for what they do. It's pretty much hit and miss. They'll go there and they'll say, this is the suit that I've done. Can I have this much money? And whatever they feel is right. It can be anywhere from 1,200 rupees to 2,400 rupees. And this is the problem that they face, because they don't even know how to price
They
the
have no
number of
idea.
hours that they put into that piece.
Right.
So it's quite sad the way things are happening. But what's interesting is when you look at what's happening in Southeast Asia. There are people in Sri Lanka, in Bangladesh, people like Bibi Russell, who's the
Right.
mother of social development for
Absolutely.
fashion. There are people in India. people like Abraham and Thakur, people like Saman Chauhan, who are actually going back. Samant is actually working on Bhagalpur silk. Abraham and Thakur are doing a lot with khadi. There are a lot of people who are actually working and doing stuff, and they don't even know that it's ethical practice. So the whole thing about ethical fashion is that people are doing it, but what's happening is that it's not being given the right kind of projection. And what we need to do is we need to kind of take it forward and start to convert a lot of designers and a lot of stores to actually start working with ethical fashion in terms of not just marketing it, but also in terms of going to the rural sector and manufacturing it.